What kind of growth have you seen from Paulson and Debo? Year to year?
Well, look, I mean, he's in his second year, and so I think I said this the other day. Like the big thing, like he just has a better understanding of what we're doing defensively, and so there's a maturity about that player which was there last year, but it's just probably maybe a little bit more confidence in what we're doing, knowing that, man, I belong.
Through the first few days, how would you say Jameis Winston is playing, and how is he moving physically?
Well, I think he looks pretty good. There was a play the other day where he kind of rolled out to the right, and he looked like Jameis to me. And so, look, I think he's doing some good things. I've been really pleased with the way he's kind of taking command of the offense, communication in and out of the huddle, those types of things. I mean, I think that's, he's showing some leadership ability, and I've been pleased with what I've seen so far.
James, could you talk about the additions of Jari Evans and Ty Warren for Seth?
Yeah, look, I mean, both of those are quality, or were quality players. Both of those I've had a chance to be around. Ty being an A&M guy, and then I coached him for a year in Denver, and then obviously spent a lot of time here with Jari, and I think those guys bring some knowledge and experience from a player's perspective that I think can help our guys.
Any specific things?
Sorry, go ahead.
Any specific things you want to elaborate on that you thought were sloppy today?
Well, I just felt like the ball was on the ground a little bit more than I wanted to see it on the ground. Some of them, I think the defense made some good plays. Some of it, I think, we just had a little bit of lack of focus, lack of concentration, didn't look the ball in. So,
Jameis has talked quite a bit about wanting to improve his short area accuracy. Have you seen him get better at that element, and like the improvement there? How would that kind of change his game if that does?
Well, yeah, and look, I mean, again, we're 3 days in, and so it's hard to make a lot of like final evaluations on where we're at. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I've seen improvement in accuracy, and I still think that's an area that we can keep working on.
Coach Allen, how do y'all evaluate like the run game with no full gear? It looks like you had some nice holes, but you don't have.
Well, it's hard. I mean, like, especially coming right off the field, you get a little bit better feel for it when you go in and watch the tape and kind of see exactly what happened. I know standing from behind, I felt like there was a couple of runs that were pretty impressive runs, and so we'll go back and look at the tape and kind of see exactly what we see. But we said this yesterday, I think it was, but I mean, we really find out when we put all the pads on Monday and get to playing real football.
Yeah, what do you think of 33?
Excuse me?
33. What do you think of what he's done?
Look, I think he's done a nice job, but again, it's kind of early. I hate making a lot of bold statements about anybody at this time. Just 3 practices in, but look, the number one thing is, can you get lined up and do you know where to go? And he's got that part down, and so that's a good thing, and we'll continue to evaluate him as we kind of go through.
Was it a pretty intense recruitment event? I mean, you give a free agent that kind of money. Can you talk about how that all kind of unfolded?
Well, yeah, there was a process that we went through. I know that I'm good friends with the offensive coordinator there at Baylor, Jeff Grimes. He and I were graduate assistants together, and so I visited with him, and there's a thought that we might even potentially draft him late in the draft, and so there was a lot of communication that went in kind of behind the scenes, and I think we're fortunate that we have him here, and I think he's got a chance as a running back, but I also think he's got a chance to really help us on special teams.
What are the advantages of having a backup quarterback with so much experience and handheld?
Well, look, I think number one is you've got a guy that, if he's called upon to go into the game and play, you feel very confident that you have a chance to go in and not just play the game, but you have a chance to go in and win the game. And I think that's a positive. I think just the fact that he's been around and seen so much, he can be a help in the meeting room in terms of helping with Jameis or Ian Book just being able to tell them, hey, this is what I saw in this particular play or versus this particular defense. So I think having a veteran presence is important.
Dennis, just from your expertise with the secondary, like how important is it to have those guys around and learning how to communicate with each other? And I know you had like Tyron and Marcus May here for like OTAs and mini camps. So like how much of that stuff helped with that aspect?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's important. It's important. And obviously the more veteran the players are, the easier it is for them to adapt to that type of environment. Obviously, the younger players, takes a little bit longer. It's obviously a lot more important that they're out here and taking part in it on a day in and day out basis. So, but yeah, it's an important aspect of what we do.
Do you feel like you have unusually good depth in the secondary?
I don't know if it's unusually, but it's good. I like where it's at. I think we have depth at both the corner and the safety position. There's been times where maybe you feel like you got some depth at corner, but maybe not at safety or vice versa. But I feel like we've got some depth at both positions, and I feel like we've got some versatility and some players that, could potentially play multiple spots. And so, I like where the secondary depth is.
How would you describe Doug Marrone's impact so far on the practice field?
Well, I'm going to stay away from describing an impact. Here's what I'd say about Doug. I think Doug's a hell of a football coach. I think he's really smart. I think he's tough-minded. I think he understands how to relate to the players. And so I anticipate that it's going to have a huge impact on us. But again, we're day 3 into training camp, but I don't want to undersell Doug Marrone. I think Doug Marrone's been an outstanding addition to our staff.
Dennis, is that a fair comparison of Andrew Dowell as far as his play, kind of like what you had down in Craig Robinson? Are they similar or not really?
Maybe a little bit similar in that kind of their roles have been kind of the same, in terms of just being like a primary special teams player, but one that can come in and execute at the linebacker position. I think that's the thing that kind of differentiates them at this point in time. Craig Robertson had proved that he was able to go in and compete at a high level. Look, we played in the NFC champ or the divisional round of the playoffs, and Craig Robertson was one of our starting linebackers for a majority of that season. So he has proven that he can operate in that environment, and Andrew's trying to prove that he can operate in that environment.
Coach, is there anything you can say about Taysom Hill?
Nothing other than, look, he got hit in the ribs yesterday. He's going to be out for a little bit. But he was out with an injury today, and it's not anything to do with the foot.
It's nice having some guys from some of your old teams out here. So like Shanley and Mark.
Yeah, it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool. Both those guys look really. Look, I think that's one of the great things about the Saints, and particularly from the time that Sean took over here, is just the how welcoming this organization is to its alumni, and that just goes to Joe Vitt used to say this all the time: when you win a championship together, you walk together forever, and that really, like, it just shows when you have guys like Zach Streif that want to come back and work for the organization, Jari Evans coming back to be an internship with us throughout training camp, and then obviously Marcus and Scott being out here today was kind of cool to see. I feel like that's a question I get every day. Look, Peyton's doing a nice job, and I see some things that I like. I see some things that impress me. I also see a lot of things that we've got to get better at, and so he's a talented player. We drafted him in the first round. We have high expectations for him, but he still has a long way to go to get where we need him to be.
I have a follow-up on him actually, but a little different. So, considering though that on one hand you have a high pick invested, but on the other hand he's almost like still a rookie because of all the time he missed, and you have 2 incumbent starters on the ends. How do you want him to manage his expectations? Is it a little bit different of a circumstance?
See, See, I don't look at it that way. Here's what I want him to do. I want him to come to work every single day and focus on that day and getting himself better that day. And if he does that, and he does it day in and day out, all those expectations, you know, they take care of themselves. He's plenty talented enough. He's plenty athletic enough. He's plenty smart enough, you know, and now it's really about just going out and putting in the work. And that takes time. We'll give it time to get there, and you know, we'll make evaluations when we get somewhere down the road and you know, just kind of define where he is and how he is as a player.
Is that something you feel like you need to actually say? Don't worry about the outside expectations, the expectation of being number one pick. I just want you to worry about tomorrow. Or is that something?
To be honest with you, I don't have that conversation with him. You know, I mean, I have the conversation of let's focus in on today and get better today, but that's no different than any other player that we deal with. I think too many times we worry about what expectations are instead of what the task at hand is, and that's handling and controlling what you control. That's how I go to work today, and that's how I handle my business today.
So, as training progresses, how important is it to have a guy like Hurst?
Well, look, important. I mean, James played a lot of snaps for us last year, started a lot of games for us. So, you guys have heard me say this before. This is the league that we play in is a backup league, and so you're going to need backup players. And right now, James is the starter. You know, so Trevor's got to come along and prove that number one, does he have the ability to come in and be the backup, which he has that ability, and can he push to, you know, then become the starter? But the more depth that we have, the better we're going to be.
Is that a complicated spot? Especially that spot?
Well, I've never played it, so. But look, it's challenging. You're the left tackle, and generally the right defensive end's the best rusher. You're protecting the blind side of the quarterback, so yeah, it's a challenging position. The offensive line is one of the more challenging positions from a mental standpoint. So yeah, it's tough. It takes a lot of work.
Yeah, I know you touched on Jerry and Taiwan, but just getting the amount of experience those guys have in that fellowship role, like how beneficial is that to you guys as a staff?
Yeah, I think it's beneficial, and it's beneficial because they've been around. Now, Jari's a little bit different in that he's been in this offensive system. You know, Ty's been in a couple of other systems. I know I had him in Denver for a year, but I think what we see from them a little bit more is just kind of their wisdom in terms of being a player in the National Football League, and it just gives us a little bit different perspective as we, you know, evaluate what we're seeing.
Dennis, what happened with Bryce Thompson?
Just a little, the heat got to him a little bit.
Did he finish practice? It looked like maybe he was.
Little asthma, same thing.
You know, with fans going to be out there tomorrow, you know, how are you getting ready for that? It's got to be an exciting moment. You know,
well, look, I love the fans. I love having the fans out here. I'll be excited to see them out here tomorrow. That's not where my focus is right now, but certainly it's no secret how we as a team feel about our fans, our city, and I don't think it's any secret how, you know, our city and our fans feel about this football team. And so it'll be nice to see, you know, the fans out there again, and it's been a while since we've had that.
Is your writing hand and head coaching autograph shake?
Yeah,
Keyboard.
that's the least of my concerns right now, but I think I'll be all right. All good, guys? Okay, appreciate it.
Thank you.